Emery is a really adventurous little girl. She's super good at climbing on everything. She loves bugs, loves camping. She's a really fun girl. Even though she's still young, she's really good at being a good friend.
She's a girl that's really easy to connect with because her energy is so outward. She had just turned 1.5 years old.
And she woke up half paralyzed. They rushed her in and they found a big tumor in her left parietal lobe. Found out it was cancerous. And it wasn't just cancerous, but it was a glioblastoma, which is like the most aggressive type of brain cancer. And so we had to start really hard, really fast, like super aggressive chemo. And then her last round was a bone marrow transplant.
She had her second birthday, like in the middle of her bone marrow transplant.
She got put in the ICU and she was on life support, on 3 different kinds of life support for a while.
About a month.
Being on chemo, you need platelets all the time.
Blood, I think for many people, is an afterthought. We don't think of blood as something unlikely to be there. People are finding out with increasing frequency that sometimes it's not there. And when it's not there, there are serious consequences.
My doctor's office had called a couple times, and it was the nurse from the office, and she had told me that my CBC came back and that my platelets were dangerously low. So like the average platelets are between 150,000 and 400,000, and I was at a 5,000. And my doctor actually took the phone from her and she was like, "Christy, you need to get to a hospital right now." And they actually kept me there. They kept me for about 5 days. The hematologist that I saw, that's when he diagnosed me with ITP. And I went on with my life for about 9 months and then I relapsed, and it's been a battle since then.
The way we get blood at hospitals, it has not fundamentally changed in 60 years. We don't just have a problem with platelets in the United States, and frankly, in many parts of the world today. We have a problem with procuring blood products of all kinds. We also need to think about how we get blood components in the first place. These are individuals that volunteer their time and their energy to help provide these components for hospitals, but the unfortunate reality is that we are running out of donors willing to do this today. And the problem comes back to the same exact source. We're reliant on a group of people that are an unsustainable donor pool, that over time, without new solutions to deal with the fundamental problem, the problem will only get worse. The largest and most growing part of the segment that needs platelets are folks that have undergone a cancer diagnosis or are going through open heart surgery or organ transplantation.
I had a little bit of a pit in my stomach, so we went to the urgent care, did some blood work. There was kind of some ruffling around in the office trying to figure out what to do. So we did a bone marrow biopsy, and that's when it came back that it was leukemia. I was admitted the next day, started getting blood products pretty much immediately, whether it was blood or platelets every day, every other day for 1 or 2 weeks. And there's been multiple times where my doctors ordered it. I've been denied because of this blood shortage and platelet shortage. You know, right now I have A positive, which is a favorable blood type to have. I've been next to people who have been denied blood because they have O negative or O positive or something that's a lot harder to get.
The problem has only been exacerbated during the pandemic, and it makes sense. If the typical blood donor is a person who's older in age, that person is also the least likely to want to be in public places. I think the challenge is that even now that that person has been vaccinated, many of these people have not decided to come back.
I was at work and I had a bloody nose. My boss finally took me to the hospital. And when they got me in there, my platelets were at a 2 at that point. They wanted to do a platelet transfusion, but their blood bank was all out of platelets. And, you know, when you hear that, I'm thinking like, oh my God, now what? Like, what's going to happen now? I could have died.
You might have seen a mass appeal issued by the blood industry. You might have heard of certain mass casualty events that led to the need for blood. And I think many of us, out of the goodness of our hearts, gone to take action and to go and do something tangible. While this can be helpful in the very short term, especially on the heels of unfortunate mass casualty events or supply chain disturbances, mass appeals only have a limited ability to influence outcomes. And the reason for that is the following. Platelets have a 5-day shelf life. On the heels of an event, on the heels of an appeal, that's not enough. Unfortunately, that's just not enough.
They did tell us she will need these transfusions, and hopefully there are people that donate still.
Towards the end, during her bone marrow transplant, she ended up just being on a platelet drip.
They gave us 5% chance of her making it. And honestly, if she couldn't have those platelet transfusions, she wouldn't be here today, which is really scary when it's your daughter on the line.
We realize how fortunate we are that she's able to just be out there with her sister right now and just be playing. She definitely fought to be here, and we're grateful for it.
Yeah.
You never know when it's you or someone you love that's going to need it. Because you hope you never do. Ideally, you never would. But you just don't know. I think that the gift that they gave to Emery was worth more than they probably got in return for their time. But it's something that we couldn't give to her ourselves in that amount. We had to have other people who are willing to make that sacrifice for her. Because without it, she wouldn't be here. I'm more grateful than I ever imagined that I could be.
So thank you for those people that do donate.
I wish for us that we could thank every person individually. Regardless, we're extremely grateful.
Because they're making a huge difference, literally saving lives. There are so many people that we were around that needed this and that didn't get the support that they needed.
I think people, they just don't really think about how donating blood can affect so many people. Like it's life-changing if you think about it, and you don't know whose life you could be saving, which I think is really special. The good deed that you're doing is just something that a lot of people can't ever repay. I'm just very thankful for donors. I encourage everyone I can to donate blood for sure.